So in the last session, we discussed about what is a lambda expressions. Lambda expression is an anonymous function or anonymous method. What's the meaning of this anonymous? No access modifier, no return type, the next no method name. Then what will be there? Only the parameters, then arrow, that's called as lambda symbol, then the block of lambda with multi lines of code. And if we are going to write this, end of the statement. So this is the syntax of this lambda expression. We have discussed about the various scenarios of when it comes to a traditional method with inputs, without inputs, with return type, without return type, all the 6 possibilities we discussed about it. And we have a conclusion called as when we write only lambda, say for example, a number, lambda, number into number. That means it's nothing but a number is an input whose return type is square of a number. Then by writing this lambda expressions, is it possible to execute this lambda expression directly? No, it's not possible. Alone lambdas will not work. Then what is the integrated concept for these lambdas to be used? So for that, let's understand the next concept called as lambda expressions can be used only with functional interfaces. We can use lambda expressions only with functional interfaces. Then what is a functional interface? So in this session, we'll understand all these properties are the points about this functional interface. So functional interface is an interface. So generally when it comes to interface, what an interface can have? Public interface, some interface name of programmer choice. Inside the interface, can we have abstract methods, n number? Yes. And in this Java 8 interface can have a default methods which are concrete methods. Also, can we have n number? Yes, possible. And it's also possible to have static methods of n number. Then when any interface can have n number of abstract, default or static methods, then what is the meaning of function interface? Function interface is an interface with exactly one abstract method. That means when it comes to the possibility of interfaces, function interface puts one restriction for the abstract methods only. That means there is no restriction for default can be n number again in function interface also. And there is no restriction for static methods, it can be n number in function interface also. That's what is the definition of what is a function interface? An interface with exactly one abstract method. Then what's the purpose of these function interfaces? And yeah, of course, function interface can also contain n number of default and n number of static methods, but the condition is only for abstract method should be 1, not 0, not more. Then followed by to indicate our interface as function interface, then it's recommended to use the annotation called as function interface. Because if you are using any interface like a normal interface, then there is no problem of adding some more methods in terms of default or static, and removing existing methods from this default or static will not make any difference to the existing or implemented classes. But if you are trying to use any interface as a function interface, if you try to modify or if you try to add one more method, then in terms of abstract, if you try to remove or existing abstract methods, then there is a problem. The existing implemented classes in terms of lambda expressions will be failing. That's the reason it's recommended to annotate the function interfaces with the help of function interface annotation. Then with this, what is the next point about it? Function interface are used to support lambda expressions. Then we are having one more concept called as method references also. Function interfaces are there to support lambda expressions as well as the method references. Then what is this method reference? As of now, we didn't discuss. So we'll be discussing later. So currently you can take this statement as function interfaces are there to support lambda expressions. Then what's the syntax of the function interface? And interface with interface syntax, which we are aware of it, public interface, some interface name, then followed by Inside this interface, how many abstract methods are required? Are allowed to? Only one to add. So public void m1 and method is ending with statement semicolon. That's the abstract method. Abstract keyword is optional inside the interface. Now to indicate this as function interface, it's not mandatory, but it's recommended to use this annotation called as @function interface. What's the use of this annotation? For example, by chance, if you are trying to add one more abstract method, then because of this annotation, it throws compilation error. That means if you are trying to use this interface as function interface, where we are going to work with lambda expressions, by chance, if you are trying to add one more method, then existing lambdas will fail. Then this annotation will help us or will warn us that if you are trying to add one more method inside this interface, then you are declaring this as function interface, but still you are trying to add more than one method. Then there is some problem at some other place of the code. That's what is the advantage or benefit of using this annotation called as @function interface. Hope I'm clear. So then, before we go for using function interfaces to execute lambdas, let's understand few more points about these function interfaces. So here is one next example about function interface. So here I have a syntax. What is syntax is that there is an interface name interface1, which has a method called as public void m1. Now, is it syntactically correct that it's a function interface? The interface1, is it syntactically correct or incorrect? Yes, because how many methods it has? Only one abstract method. Then any interface with one abstract method can be declared as a function interface. Therefore, syntactically this is allowed. Then let's go for this second example. So is it correct syntactically as a function interface? Yes, no? Because interface 2 has one abstract method and one more is default method. Then what is the condition for any interface to declare as function interface? It should have only one abstract method. Therefore, syntactically, it's correct. Yeah. Then let's see the third example. Because of animations, these extra closings were there. So, but I'll make you understand it clearly without any animations. So what is that? Interface name i3, which has one abstract method, which has one default method, which also has one static method. Ignore this. This is the closing of the interface. So inside the interface 3, we are having one abstract, one default, one static. Now still can we declare this as function interface or not? Allowed or not? It's allowed to be declared. Therefore, this is one more example of an interface which can be a function interface. Conclusion, function interface can have n number of default methods along with one abstract method and n number of defaults and statics also together along with one abstract method. So all such interfaces can be declared as functional interfaces. That's a takeaway from this discussion. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Then followed by, let's move on. When it comes to interface inheritance is also possible. In such scenarios, how it will behave like function interfaces are. Then here is one example. Interface name i4, and then followed by, it has one abstract method. So syntactically declaring this as function interface. Correct or incorrect? It's correct. And then let's move on. If this has one more method, if this interface 4 has one more method, public boolean equals, then some inputs and ends with semicolon. Is it an abstract method or not? Second method is an abstract method or not? Yes, it's an abstract method. Then if we have some more methods inside this, I'll come to the point. When it comes to the interface called as interface interface 4, and inside this interface 4, we have abstract method 1, then one more abstract method 2, then 3, and then 4. Then by having 4 abstract methods, still we are declaring this as a function interface. Now, is it allowed or not allowed syntactically? What is the definition or rule for an interface to be a function interface? What's the definition? The interface should have only one abstract method, but currently how many we have? 4. Then it's allowed to declare function interface or not? Without function interface, any interface of public interface, some interface name, inside this public void m1 as abstract method 1, m2, then m3, like this m100. Is it possible or not possible? Yes, it's possible because we are not declaring this as function interface. This is allowed. But by declaring an interface as function interface, still we are adding multiple methods. So this is a scenario where you should have a clarity. Is it allowed or not allowed? No. So remember, it is all these are predefined or programmer defined. Predefined. Where they are present? These are the methods of equals hash code to string are the methods of which predefined class. This is one programmer defined abstract method. Fine. But remaining are predefined only. Even though predefined or programmer defined allowed to be only one method in the function interface as abstract style, right? But still we have it. But remember this point very clearly. This is one common interview question. They try to tricky with us. What is that? Is equals hash code to string methods are object class methods. It's a predefined class called as object class methods. So because these methods are object class methods, yes, still syntactically this is correct because object class methods are allowed in the abstract style within the function interface also. Hello? Yeah, programmer defined. If I write one more public void m2, then it's incorrect of function interface. But object class methods along with our method, then still syntactically, this is allowed to be declared as a function interface. Am I clear? Let's say the same syntaxes. If at all you have any questions, will be addressed once again through Eclipse as well. So I'll use this Java 8 project and I'll create a new class name of programmer choice. Let me use the name as fi for function interface example. Let's write inside some package. So com dot, I'll use this March. That's a package name I have taken. Okay, it's not the class. We're supposed to go for interface. So let's write the interface inside this file only. Syntax of interface name of programmer choice I, then it's block of code which is syntactically correct. Then inside this, if we add one method, say public void m1 and abstract method, syntactically it's accepted, fine, no problem. And if we try to add one more method, is it possible? Yes, we can add n number of abstract methods, default methods, and static methods inside the regular interface or normal interface. Also allowed. But the same syntax, if I copy it and I'll change the interface name from interface I to I2, still it's fine. But this interface I2, I'm going to make it as function interface. Now we observe, it's allowed or not allowed? Not allowed, because any interface to be a function interface, it should have only one abstract method, either predefined or programmer defined, other than the object class methods. That's the condition. That's the reason behind it's giving error. Now, if I comment one out of that, then syntactically, now it's accepted. That's the proof of interface with one abstract that can be declared as a function interface, not multiple. Then that multiple can be of which type? Object class type. Let's go for public. Return type is string. Method name is toString, which takes 0 inputs. Now, are we getting any error? No, it will. Then how many abstract methods are there? 2. But the second one is belongs to which class? Object class. That's why it's allowed. Then you can add hash code method and all those things that are present in the slide. That's a proof of an interface with one abstract method, either predefined or programmer defined, but not of the object class type. Then we can declare such interfaces as functional interfaces. Then let's move on to the next discussion about these functional interfaces. Now here is an example. I'll present both of them at the same time. Yeah, so here are two interfaces. What are the interfaces are? There is an interface called as interface 1, which has how many methods? One abstract method. Then can be declared as a functional interface, fine. Then followed by there is an interface called as interface 2. Then one interface can inherit another interface by extends as a keyword interface 1. Now inside this interface 2 also we have one more abstract step. Now syntactically interface 1, correct or incorrect? It's correct. Syntactically interface 2 along with function representation, correct or incorrect? Correct or incorrect? Please think. So this syntax is incorrect. Why? Because here if you go for this inheritance concept, parent interface methods available to the child are not through inheritance. That means interface 1 method called as M1 is also available to interface 2. That means interface 2 already have one abstract method. Then we are declaring one more in the interface 2 itself. Therefore, interface 2 totally have how many abstract methods? 2. Therefore, how can we declare an interface as function interface if it is having more than one? That's why this inheritance syntax with one more method with function interface annotation will throw a compilation error. It's not allowed. Then similarly, let's see one more example here, I3 and I4 scenario. Now currently, there is an interface called as interface 3. Syntactically, it's correct? Yes, it's correct because it has only one abstract method. Then here is interface 4 and which has 0 abstract methods and declared as function interface, correct? Correct or incorrect? Only interface 4 is my question. When it comes to interface 4, is it correct with this syntax? No. How can we declare an interface as function interface with 0 abstract methods? It must be one, not less, not more, right? That's why this is syntactically incorrect. But what if interface 4 inherits interface 3? Now it's correct or not? Yes, because from the parent entity through inheritance, child will get the same interface. Now I3 interface 3 has one. That one comes to interface 4. Now interface 4 has one abstract method, therefore it can be declared as a function. So this is about functional interfaces, how to declare and how many abstract methods are allowed, what are the various possibilities of object class methods especially, and also through inheritance also you should be careful about. Clear? Yes. Then if these things are clear, now we can start working with lambdas and function interfaces together. Let's take one example to execute a lambda expression with the help of functional interface. Now to write lambdas, function interface is required or optional? It's mandatory to have a function interface. Then let's declare one interface of programmer choice, say public interface name, say number interface. And inside this interface, can we add one abstract with that? Yes, we are allowed to add public. Then return type I'll keep it as integer. Then method name of programmer choice is say square it. Then followed by let's take one integer input to square the number. Because this is an interface with one abstract method, it's allowed to declare this as a functional interface. That's the next part. Then followed by, now in order to use this in the lambda style, first tell me what's the lambda for this method. What's the lambda for this method? Any variable of programmer choice, a lambda, then n into n is the square of the number, which returns the integer value. Now we can't use this lambda alone. Then we have to use this lambdas with which one? Functional interfaces. What's the function interface name? Number interface. So here, interface name called as number interface. Then some reference name of programmer choice. Say I'll go for NI for number interface. Then by using this number interface reference called as NI dot, what's the method present inside this interface? Square it, which takes what input? Integer. Now we have to go for the method called as square it and give some integers input. Because this lambda is returning, now we know that when the method returns a value, we can call it from print function. Now we are going to get output as 100. In the last class, if at all we have any question that how come this n will act like number only? What if it is a string? Syntactically incorrect. Hello. We discussed about it while writing a lambda. Type of variable is optional. But if it is other than number, is it a correct expression in Java? No. Character into character, meaningless. String into string is no. Boolean into boolean is no. Correct? Then how come we make sure that this is integer only? That n is or that variable is integer only. It's because of function interface. And in this function interface also no confusion because of there is only one method. That method input will be the type of your variable without any ambiguity. If you are trying to give some other input, say for example, interface reference called ni dot a square it, can I give a Java string here? Is it possible? It's not possible. It throws compilation error because the method is expecting integer. You are not passing the integers parameter. That's how the variable will act like exactly the lambda expression variable will be same as a function interface method input. Then only that sync will happen. Otherwise, it's incorrect. Syntactical. Am I clear? Now, in order to execute this one, you take some class and inside the class, use the main method to execute the lambda expression result to see the results. End of main, end of class. Like this, you can reuse this reference called as ni and call n number of times and provide the integer input with the square method, which is going to keep on returning the squares of the given numbers. This is how a lambda expression will be used with function interfaces only. Am I clear? Yes. Let's quickly see this example through Eclipse and we'll come and discuss some more points. So for this, I'll close this current file and let's create a new interface to define and a main method to execute. So for that, I'll take a new class name test. I'll take, and inside this class to execute, let's take a main method. So inside the main method, if you write only lambda expression to take a number as input, return the square of it. What is syntax? N for number, lambda, then followed by n asterisk n, end of the statement. So alone lambda is syntactically incomplete. Yeah. So this has no meaning. Then how to give a meaning to lambda? Then use that lambda with function interface. Then for this requirement, first define one function interface. Syntax, please. Interface is the keyword. Interface name of meaningful name of interface called as number interface. I'll take. Then inside this number interface, let's define a abstract method. Say public int. So method name of square it and which needs one number to square. Any variable is fine. Now here in lambda, we can use any of the variables, but this lambda is to be used with function interface called as number interface with some reference name of ni equals. Now syntactically, this is correct. Yeah. Then how to get the results out of this? Then use the function interface reference called as ni with the dot operator. We are allowed to call object class methods and also one abstract method. Only those are allowed. Then square it, which takes integer and which returns the square of the integer. Control F11 to run the program. Let's run and cross verify. We are getting the result. Then what if we try to give a non-integer as input? So I'll take this line of code and here I'm going to provide input of non-integer. If it is integer, it's going to work. If it is non-integer, let's see that. Is it accepting or throwing the error? Accepted? No, syntactically it's not correct because we have a function interface called as number interface where the reference of that is ni, and by using ni we can call only one method. There is no ambiguity of method 1, method 2. There is only one method and which accepts integer input, but we are providing a string input, which is completely a mismatch. That's how the variable of lambda will become the type of input to the method internally. So that's a conclusion of how to work with lambdas and also functional interfaces together. Am I clear with this example? Then here comes the next question. What's next question? Okay, for this requirement, we are defining one interface. Then we are writing the lambda for it. What if our next requirement is a even number scenario? Take a number as input and return the number is even means true, odd means false. Then can we use the same interface or you have to define one more interface? So same interface to me. If at all we are using same interface with the same method, then it is going to be returning integer. But I'm saying that if a number is even, return true. If a number is odd, return false. Means Boolean return type you want. Then is the same method is going to work for that? No. Then what we are supposed to do? Create one more function interface. Correct or not? Then syntax please. Public interface name of program of choice. A number, even odd number. I'll take. Okay. So even odd number interface I'll take. Some interface name I'm just defining. Then inside this, according to the requirement, input is one number and method name even odd or get even odd is a method name meaningfully. Then return type Boolean. Then by default public and abstract. Now how to use this function interface? How to use this function interface in the lambda style? So inside the main method, now take a number in terms of any variable, number modulo 2 double equals 0. If yes, true. If no, false. That's return value. Then we cannot use only lambdas. We have to use with function interfaces. What's function interface name? Even, odd, number, interface. I'll take some EO, even, odd. Then how to use this? System.out.println EO dot call a method called as get even odd and give some number 10. We are going to get it true. Then get a number called as 11. We are going to get false. So for this next requirement, my point that I'm trying to convey is we are defining one more interface. What if take a number and return the number is prime or not? Can we use same interface once again, or we have to define one more interface? One more interface we have to define, correct? Then take a method which will take no inputs but which should return Fibonacci series, or we should print a Fibonacci series. Then can we use any of these two, or we have to define one more interface? We have to define one more interface. Like that, for each and every requirement, if programmer has to define a new interface, then how many interfaces we have to define as a programmer? N number depends on the requirement, right? Then that's another problem. Yeah, that's why what Java has done is programmer need not to define any function interfaces. We need not to, or not mandated to define a function interfaces. Just write lambdas. Just write the required lambdas. All these required interfaces are provided by Java in Java 8. For any given requirement in the real world, if we are going to use lambdas for it, then lambdas works with function interface only. Then do we need to define function interfaces? Java 8 said no. Java 8 already given us the required function interfaces to fulfill any real-time scenarios. That's what is the next concept called as predefined functional interfaces. Predefined functional interface is the next concept. Okay. So that we will discuss in next video. I hope you understood this function interface concept and a simplest example that how do we use lambdas along with function interfaces to get the appropriate results with this sample program. But here we are defining one interface. So we no need to define the required interfaces already provided by the Java 8. That we'll discuss in our next video. Thank you.